What's going on, YouTube? Ferocity here. I hope you guys are doing well. I saw a tweet from Charlie Intel where he ranked all of the post-Warzone era Call of Duty, so anything after Black Ops 4, into a nice top 5 list. And he gave us this list where he had Modern Warfare 3 at number 1, Black Ops Cold War at number 2, number 3 had MW 2019, number 4 Call of Duty Vanguard, and number 5 MW2. Honestly, a little surprised that he ranked Vanguard higher than MW2, but for the rest of this list, I understand it from Charlie Intel's perspective. Can I disagree with it? 100%. That's why we're here today. Because I don't believe that MW3 is better than Black Ops Cold War. Am I a little nostalgic for Cold War? Maybe. It came at a time where I was playing a lot with my friends, and it was a really fun game. But I found the solo experience for Black Ops Cold War to be far superior to what we have here in MW3. But before we get to kind of the two best games of the post-Warzone era, let's talk about the worst of this franchise, which is MW2, Modern Warfare 2019, and Call of Duty Vanguard. It is extremely difficult for me to rank these properly. Because on one hand, I look at a game like Call of Duty Vanguard, something where I think I spent close to 3, maybe 4 hours playing before I decided this is awful and never touched it again. I at least tried to play both MW 2019 and MW2. Both those games were somewhat played by me. Not Vanguard, though. I couldn't get behind it. The whole game just felt like a mess from top to bottom. And it's so hard for me to place either MW 2019 or MW2 ahead of it. Yeah, it had a lot more content for sure than MW2 did, than MW 2019 did. But that content wasn't good. I always talk about this, but I always say that sometimes quality matters more than quantity. And Vanguard had a lot of quantity, but the quality was so few and far between that it really ruined the quantity that was in the game. Could have Vanguard succeeded if Sledgehammer Games was a little bit better at the time? Probably, maybe. But it just decided to be MW 2019 with a World War II skin, but do a lot of things worse. And the gameplay overall suffered because of it. And this is where we get into the argument about what was worse, MW 2019 or MW2. Because I don't like a lot of the changes that were implemented during Modern Warfare 2019. I just don't. I think tac sprint is still silly. I think some of the movement changes are silly. I hate the gunsmith. I've talked about that enough. I just feel like they've tried to add a depth to gameplay, but in reality, I don't think it's enhanced anything to make it better. At the end of the day, the gunsmith, everybody just watches what the best setup is, and that's what they use. They unlock the same weapons, they unlock the same attachments, and they just use what the best setups are, instead of playing the game and having different ways to utilize a certain gun. And that's why I don't like Gunsmith. Very short version. The other thing that MW 2019 did was have the worst map design in the entire history of Call of Duty. I have never played a game where I've been so depressed playing the maps. Yeah, they brought in Shoot House after all of us were like, can we please have a small area map? And it took them forever to have them. They also decided to release a map called Piccadilly, which to this day is still the most perplexing map design I've ever seen in my entire life. What a bad map. The one thing in Modern Warfare 2019's favor, though, was the fact that it was pretty. It was a good-looking game. And it came out at a time where all of us were stuck inside, so clearly a bunch of us played it. So it did have success in that regard, but I just don't really feel as if it pushed the franchise forward, because we'll talk about Black Ops Cold War in a second, but MW 2019 made all of these advancements when it came to tac sprint and to movement, and Black Ops Cold War took that, threw it out, and gave us a traditional Call of Duty game, one that is far superior, in my opinion, to what MW 2019 is. And it also had better map design. But when it compare MW 2019 to MW2, as bad as some of the decisions that were made in MW 2019 were, they pale in comparison to every wrong decision Infinity Ward made during the MW2 life cycle. The MW2 life cycle was a cataclysm of stupidity. I have never seen incompetence like that before. And we're getting some of that here as residual incompetence in MW3, but nowhere near as bad as what we saw during the MW2 era. Whether it was a lack of quality content, a lack of quantity of content, or the fact that the game was just a nightmare to begin with. Requests from the community went unanswered. The way that you unlocked guns in the game seemed very silly and arbitrary. There were decisions that they made with dead silence that still to this day make no sense. They decided to overhaul the perk system, which again was an awful idea. All of this culminated into a pretty abysmal experience for the player. So when I look at MW2, I can't place it anywhere else on this list other than within the same category as Call of Duty Vanguard. I just don't know where those two fit. Which one is 4, which one is 5? It's hard to say. Both of them are terrible. But what I can say is that MW 2019 fits nicely into number 3, which is saying something. Because I didn't like that game. I didn't think it was as great as a lot of people in this community feel it was. It was fine. It was okay. But it wasn't great, especially coming off of Black Ops 4, which was a game that I thought was pretty decent for the most part. I just think we took several steps backwards while also trying to add depth to the gameplay, which in my opinion just didn't really work as intended. It was also the introduction of the store and bundles and everything like that, and I don't think it's enhanced Call of Duty as much as a lot of us would have hoped it would have. Anyways, to continue. When I want to rank MW2 and Vanguard, I have to look at the facts. Which game, if I was presented them right now, would I want to play more? It's going to go to MW2. It is. So Vanguard has to slot in at 5. MW2 is going to slot in at 4. Even though I think both games are abysmal, at least MW2 was okay. Like it was a 3 out of 10 versus Vanguard being a solid 1.5, 2 out of 10. That's my personal opinion when it comes to that. But now we get to the best of the post-Warzone era, which is Black Ops Cold War and MW3. And I think you guys know where I'm going to rank Cold War and MW3. Isn't it obvious? MW3 slots in at number 2. It's a fine game, but it takes too many missteps. We're seeing a lot of incompetencies from both Sledgehammer and Activision sort of ruin this game. Is there a good foundation there? Definitely. But the flaws that this game have overshadow that foundation at every single turn. And I would love to see some changes to this foundation. I'd love to see some improvements made across the board. Cheating was not the issue in Black Ops Cold War. There were other issues in that game. But it's such a problem here in MW3 that it really soils the experience. Same with spawns. Same with inconsistent servers. All of these are problems which deeply affect the way that Call of Duty MW3 plays. And it has some of the problems that MW2 had. So I have a very hard time ranking it above Black Ops Cold War, even though it is miles ahead from MW 2019 in my opinion, mostly on map design alone. Yes, they're all maps from MW2 from 2009, but that doesn't matter. Those maps are far superior than what 2019 had, and I just feel the gameplay is a little bit more engaging than what I had in MW 2019. MW 2019 had a very campy aspect to it. Modern Warfare 3 doesn't have that as much. But the reason why Cold War takes a cake for me, it is the only one in the post-Warzone era that felt authentic to Call of Duty's original identity. You pop in Cold War, and it doesn't feel like it's that far of a departure from Black Ops 2 or Black Ops 1. It feels very much in line with that series. It feels in line with Call of Duty. I didn't feel the bundles were too over the top. I felt that they tried to add content throughout the year, although that is probably its biggest issue throughout the year, was there just wasn't enough content. By the end of the game's life cycle, we had a complete game. We have a really solid game. That's why if you go back and play Cold War now, it feels like such a complete experience because you have a full year of content being injected into what was a really good game with a good foundation. It didn't have the same issues that are persisting in MW3. Yes, skill-based matchmaking was there, but the server problems weren't as blatant. The spawns were better and more functional, and the gameplay overall wasn't being infiltrated by cheaters. And my last point on Black Ops Cold War, it probably had the funkiest, weirdest, most odd kill streak system we've ever seen, but it was still a little bit different. And even though I wasn't the biggest fan of it at the time, and even now I would never want to see it again, it was perfect for that game. It just worked. I don't know why. It was a terrible system, but for whatever reason, I liked it in Cold War. I thought they gave us some iconic maps. I will forever remember playing games on a map like Moscow or on Crossroads Strike, some just tremendous maps, because that's what Treyarch does. They deliver when it comes to quality. You can always believe that there will be quality in their games. Is there frustrating parts about their games? 100%. But the good always outweighed the bad, and that's why Cold War takes the cake for me. But what I want from you guys is to let me know with a comment down below in that comment section. How would you rank the post-Warzone era Call of Duties from 1 to 5? Would love to hear your thoughts down below in that comment section. And as always, guys, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. If you want to see more videos from me, please hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.